Singapore has been something of a bogey track for Mercedes during Formula One's V6 turbo hybrid era. However, Mercedes believes they will end their winless streak at this year's Singapore GP. Why is Mercedes confident in having a good race in Singapore? Stay tuned to find out. Mercedes has not yet won a race in 2022 and is currently on their longest winless streak in 11 years. This is because they have failed due to the fact that Mercedes is unable to produce a car that is fast enough to win races. The 8-time Constructors' Champions fumbled the new technical regulations for 2022, resulting in the W13 suffering from porpoising for major parts of the season. Additionally, the design was clunky, which made the car difficult to drive. However, Mercedes are only 35 points behind second-place Ferrari, who have 4 race wins to their name so far in 2022. This is partly due to the fact that Mercedes have an exceptional reliability record. Russell's shock pole position at the Hungarian Grand Prix gave the team renewed hope that they would soon return to the front of the grid. Singapore is a comparable circuit in terms of its tight corners and high tyre degradation, so the team is expecting similar results there. Over the course of the previous 4 races, the strengths and weaknesses of the Mercedes W13 have become clear. Zandvoort and the Hungaroring were 2 of the circuits where the Mercedes was much more competitive, while Spa and Monza were 2 of the tracks where it struggled the most in terms of its single-lap pace deficit. Mercedes has won 4 of the last 6 races in Singapore. However, one of those victories, which was Lewis Hamilton's in 2017, was only made possible by an accident that eliminated the Ferraris and Max Verstappen's Red Bull. In 2016, Nico Rosberg only narrowly held off Red Bull's Daniel Ricciardo. So Mercedes haven't really been outstanding on this circuit, but things have gone their way over the past few years. You're enjoying this video, right? You definitely don't want to miss out on other amazing videos. So all you have to do is hit the subscription button. It's that easy. Thanks for doing that. Let's move on. The Marina Bay circuit is one of the most physically demanding tracks on the calendar due to its length of 5.063 kilometers and its rough street surface. The high frequency of corners around Marina Bay means there are a lot of actions behind the wheel during just a single lap of this track. The track is one of the most demanding for gear changes. Drivers often have difficulty maintaining control of their vehicles after only a few laps since the layout has a tyre-punishing design, particularly the opening 2 turns and the traction-heavy final sector. During practice, when most of the action takes place during the hottest part of the day, drivers usually have a difficult time behind the wheel. According to the forecast for this coming weekend, the daytime air temperatures are expected to be in excess of 30 degrees Celsius, and the nighttime air temperatures are expected to be at least 25 degrees Celsius. The driver and everything else in the vehicle, including the brakes, will have to contend with these high temperatures. Formula One drivers are also required to sit in front of a rather hot engine, which will be under strain due to a lack of cool, oxygen-heavy air feeding into it. The temperatures that they will actually be dealing with in the cockpit can reach as high as 60 degrees Celsius, and they will typically be in the car for more than 2 hours on race day. Drivers will only have access to a limited quantity of water bottles, and pit personnel will also be feeling the heat as they work in their fully outfitted positions. It is projected that drivers will lose 3 kilograms of body weight due to sweat alone. The Singapore GP is a high downforce track. There is no one set standard for what constitutes a track with strong downforce, but each team's approach to each circuit reveals the areas in which they believe downforce is more important than power. Toto, the team principal for Mercedes, stated that the goal of winning a race this season has not changed. He acknowledged that doing so in Singapore is a very unlikely possibility due to the dominance of Red Bull, but he expressed cautious optimism nonetheless. Wolff said the track layout should suit our car, the bumps not. On the simulations, it says it should be one of our better tracks, but I'm trying to stay on the careful side with any predictions for Singapore. Mercedes has admitted that the performance of its car this year has left the team perplexed on occasions. Nonetheless, the Mercedes team is certain that it now has a firm grasp of where the W13 excels and where it struggles. But within that, there is an admission that what Wolff calls the mood swings of the car have caused some confusion. The absence of high-speed corners in Singapore, which can cause porpoising and bottoming out due to the amount of downforce generated, is a factor in Mercedes' favour at the Singapore Grand Prix. However, Wolff is correct to be careful with the rough track, which would need Mercedes to race at a slightly higher ride height than intended. If they didn't take this precaution, they could end up losing. But technical director Mike Elliott shared Wolff's optimism while acknowledging the challenge posed by the bumps. Elliott said, "When you look back at the learning we have gathered over the season, we expect that Singapore will be a bit more like we've seen in Budapest and Zandvoort. It's a bumpy circuit, which is going to provide its challenges, but in terms of the nature of the corners, we think it could be a bit better for our car. So hopefully, we will have a good result there. As Hamilton has pointed out, the Red Bull RB18's pace when driven by Verstappen is such that it is nearly unbeatable at the present time. On the other hand, with what we have seen at Zandvoort and the Hungaroring, Mercedes is capable of being in a position where an unconventional strategy or some good fortune could allow them to at least give Red Bull something to think about on the tracks where it performs best. And if we look at Ferrari's recent performance, we can see that they are not invincible, and Mercedes will be hoping they can beat them to the second spot in the Constructors' Championship. Given that the gap between the two teams has shrunk to 35 points, Mercedes have a good chance of finishing ahead of Ferrari. George Russell, whose reliability has put him in the running for second place in the World Championship and who is only 16 points behind Charles Leclerc, was also optimistic about his chances in Singapore. However, he was cautious of the potential issues that the bumps could pose for a vehicle that had restricted suspension, travel, and ride capabilities. When asked about his expectations for increased performance in Singapore, he stated at Monza that they were more so than we've seen here. There's no doubt about it, despite the fact that he was unsure of what the bumps would imply. Russell continued, "On paper, Singapore should suit our car, but when we look back at the street circuits of Monaco and Azerbaijan, our car doesn't fare too well over the bumps. So we're not too sure how it will fall out, but we need to keep on pushing, keep on improving the car, and I'm pleased that we've got a clear direction we need to go now." Because Mercedes anticipates having success in Singapore, its results over the course of this weekend will serve as the ideal test of its assertions that it has developed a comprehensive understanding of the W13 and can now precisely simulate how it would perform on a particular track. Let's see how Mercedes have performed on other high downforce tracks this season. During the Spanish GP, Mercedes had an incredible performance. Russell battled the Red Bulls on his way to a podium finish, but Hamilton's charge from near the back of the field on lap 1 to finish 5th has really encouraged the German car manufacturer. During that particular Grand Prix, Mercedes had the fastest package overall, which provided a glimmer of hope that the team could return to the form that had previously won the championships. Mercedes once again turned up a performance of the highest caliber in Hungary. After a difficult first half to the F1 season, George Russell delivered Mercedes' best qualifying result of the campaign with a shock pole at Hungary. Despite the fact that the team did not have a solid explanation for why things worked so well at the tight and rough circuit, Wolff believed that the out-of-the-box thinking with test items and setup at each race weekend has been essential in helping the team unlock something on its W13. Hamilton and Russell finished in second and third position respectively. The fact that Hungary's circuit is similar to the one in Singapore was undoubtedly helpful to Mercedes. They surely know how to work their way around this type of track. While Mercedes is still looking for their first victory of the season, Verstappen has a chance to clinch the championship with 5 races remaining in the season, and if he wins and his competitors for the championship finish in the bottom 3, should he have a perfect weekend, he will continue his march toward multiple Formula 1 season records. What are your predictions for the Grand Prix of Singapore? And do you think Mercedes will get their first win of the season there? Let me know in the comment section below. That will be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more amazing videos like this. See you in the next video.